You're listening to FitPro Sessions with Parallel Coaching, episode number 12. Hi, I'm Neil Bergman, and in today's podcast, I'm talking to Warwick Wyatt from Reinvent Lifestyles, all about career change, building a business, setting up a studio, and his time as a tutor and assessor on the level 2 and level 3 PT programs. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Neil Bergman.
And I'm Hayley Bergman. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of fitness professionals to get qualified, learn with simplicity, and coach clients with confidence.
We're the first to say that learning and being a fit pro doesn't have to be hard work, and that with the right structure, support, and resources, you can become a confident and knowledgeable fitness professional that is dedicated to more.
So how do you learn, qualify, and kickstart as a fit pro? This is the FitPro Sessions Podcast with Parallel Coaching.
I want to give a big warm welcome to Mr. Warwick Wyatt. I had the pleasure of meeting Warwick back in 2009, late 2009, early 2010, on a level 2 gym assessment day. And our paths have crossed many times since. And over the last number of years, Warwick's gone on to somewhat leave the kind of tutoring and assessing industry within fitness and gone on to well, I'll let you explain exactly where you are now. So over to you, Warwick. Tell the listeners who Warwick Wyatt is and who's who in the zoo.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes. Well, we met sort of midway through. I would say midway through my career currently. But I would say that I'm a director of my own company. We are a gym design equipment supplier and wellness program provider to corporate companies, to healthcare organisations, and then also we're delving into sort of student accommodation and then also residential as well, but with the whole emphasis on delivering the right solution for the right reasons. So what did I do as a day-to-day job? I would say it's running the business. There's lots of different factors. It's not just one thing. You'll catch me doing one thing 1 minute and next thing next minute. But the goal is to be able to provide people with a decent, safe, effective and fun solution for exercise and improving mental health in general.
So a completely different realm, I suppose, within the fitness industry to where you started as grassroots as a PT.
Yeah. And in fact, I didn't actually start as a PT. I started. I'll tell you how I started, shall I? I started by before I was a PT. I was studying 3D design at college, and I then saw a life of sitting at a desk and didn't really think that it was going to be the thing that I really wanted to do for certainly for the early part of my career. So the relationship that I was in at the time, the girl was actually studying she was doing the studio exercise. What's it called?
Exercise to music.
Exercise to music. That was the one. Yeah. Old school. And she sort of persuaded me to do the level 2 instructor qualification at a college while I was working in the print company. So on the weekend I would go and study the level 2 gym qualification, which was fantastic. It really opened my eyes. It totally gave me a new passion, because also I wouldn't say I was unfit, but I certainly wasn't that fit at the time. And my mum also pushed me into trying to get myself fit, because I was, a typical sort of early, a teenager stroke, moving into early 20s. I wasn't really that fit. I was probably going out too much. I was even smoking at the time. I was, going out to the club and all that kind of stuff. And then I had a bit of a time where I had to change my lifestyle. So it all came at the right time where I said, right, well, I'm going to change all of this. So I joined the local gym. I started doing the fitness instructor course. And then I basically then said, right, okay, I'm going to try and get a part-time job. And my first part-time job was at a gym called a Baker's Fitness in Ware, which this guy, actually, I think he was actually from near where you are in Plymouth. But for some reason he lived in Ware and maybe lived his life up there. But anyway, I remember that job quite vividly because it scared the hell out of me.
Nice.
Because, he was quite scary, the guy. But B, also, I literally went from no experience to learning this qualification of gym inductions and whatnot, and tidying up the gym and making sure everyone's safe and that. So literally doing their inductions, which was a mixture of one-to-one and also then group inductions at the time, which back in sort of 2003 wasn't that big at that time.
Yeah,
it was still usually the one-to-one kind of induction. So he was quite forward-thinking, that guy. But he also made me like tidy up like rigorously all the time, and I had to mop all the toilets and the showers. And I started to think, God, is this what it's about in the fitness industry? And don't get me wrong, it was still a good job. You know, it was great. You know, any job's good. But then I didn't really think I was going to end up just doing that. You know, I got into the industry to A, help myself, B, also then help others get fit and enjoy what I felt when I started exercising. You know, probably about properly about a year before that, when I really started kicking it off. Yeah. And then luckily there was a new gym being built down the road near to where I lived called a Cannons, and the girlfriend that I had at the time, she introduced me to the managers, and managed to get an interview. And interviews back then were proper. They weren't. they were real.
Tell me more about this interview.
So you had to turn up, and you had to do a I've forgotten what it's actually called, but it was like an introductory day. You'd be there for the whole day, and you'd go and do a role play. You'd go and do a quiz stroke, you know, assessment, and then you sit down for an interview as well. So you'd have to literally go and sit down with other people, talk to them, make up this role play, which was probably all a little bit odd, really, but it was quite funny. And then looking back on it, you'd be there for the whole day. Looking back at it, it was funny. At the time, it was daunting, but actually, I really enjoyed it because it was so different from kind of being at the print and design place that I was in. It was really active. There was, you know, people that were just trying to improve themselves. The club as well was a really, really cool club. It was very, very new. In fact, actually, to be a member, I think the previous year before that, you actually had to apply to be a member.
Oh wow!
It was, yeah, and that was quite interesting as well, because it really it made it feel even more of a exclusive club, which was exciting, you know. So
which I suppose,
luckily, I
you
got
as a personal trainer or as a coach, you know, they're bringing in a certain type of person that is willing and able to afford your services as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it had quite I mean, it was quite an affluent area anyway. Not that that's absolutely needed, you know, and hence actually why my career has gone in certain directions now. You know, it's not all about the affluent areas for me, but that's another conversation. But then with that club, it was, at the time, it was quite forward thinking. There was loads of other people that were like, you could just tell that they were into trying to improve themselves and others. And I would say probably, and still the coaches that were there, like probably still the best coaches that I've ever met. You know, they were fantastic, and they're still out there. Yeah, so then I got the job there, and this was just at a time where I started studying the level 3 qualification. So this is sort of 2003, 2004, and I got was it 2004? Yeah, 2004. Sorry, into the qualification, and then by 2005 I had completed the whole level 3 qualification. So
you couldn't do a 6-week course back in the mid 2000s, could you?
And no. And not to say that isn't a good way. There's loads of different ways these days, you know. But back then, that suited me at the time. I wanted to go somewhere to learn with others. So the place I learned was a place called Enfield Island Fitness, which is I think ran and owned by this Sav that owns Muscleworks. I think it's actually called Muscleworks now, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, it was a great gym, full of lots of people that were just so passionate. Used to see Rhino, the gladiator, there quite often. And he you see him train, and there was, you know, that was quite inspiring. So it was a good place to learn. And then so you'd go there a couple of days a week, and then you'd then also go. No, I'd be on shift at Cannons. I'd learn loads with all the other personal trainers. So yeah, that's pretty much how I started into the fitness industry.
And what's really cool to see is obviously you started out in 3D design, in terms of a design solutions place, and now you find yourself almost doing a full circle, but incorporating that into fitness as well. You know, you're providing solutions to make enjoyable, more accessible, more fun, and, you know, working with a whole different type of client to install studios and gym space and equipment, which obviously is design from your grassroots. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was always interested in design, products, anything shiny, digital. Always interested in that as a kid. So have it then going through into sort of design college and stuff like that, and then into the fitness, and now kind of bridging all those things.
For the purposes of the listeners, you're when you talk about, you know, installation of gym equipment and studio space, from what we've discussed, we met up actually a few weeks ago, didn't we, down here in Devon, and you were talking about some of the projects you've done. Tell the listeners more about that in terms of how innovative and kind of forward thinking those spaces are. They're not your traditional gyms, I suppose, that you see in your pure gym, even though some of the equipment you're putting in is still there, but it's so much further down the field, in my opinion. So over to you.
I mean, I realised when I first got into working out spaces and figuring out what actually will work for each individual space, and it comes down to talking to people and consulting with them. So a lot of our work is in sort of workplaces. So we'd like to work with the facility managers and the HR managers to work out what the staff want, and then we do a survey, and we find out what kind of things they're doing, and then we also then put our own spin on it. So we know that it's all about the movement, it's all about engaging the workforce, social interaction. So all of our solutions have some sort of group element to it, where it used to be, and we still get it with architects sending us drawings where it's literally, you know, a cross trainer, a treadmill, and a rowing machine, you know, go in and do it, and that satisfies, you know, a few people in the building, but actually there's a whole other set of people that don't always know, you know, don't always know anyone else that wants to go with them. So when you start to see little mini groups going to sessions together in the gym, that then creates a whole atmosphere of community and space and stuff like that. So I'd like to try and design spaces that are quite engaging, from a visual point of view. So we try and get as much colour in there as possible. We try and get as many fun style exercises and functional and, like, you know, quite trying to have enough space, even if it's a small space. We try and create space by having movable kit that we can create different sessions. And then also with some of the individual products that we're starting to put into these spaces and distribute, they've also got an element of gamification as well. So, nice. And I just think gamification is probably one of the biggest things that's going to happen to the fitness industry, or wellness as well. You know, it's all it's all together, right? You know, wellness is the encompassing thing, I would say. It's all about about the mind, it's about the physical body, but it's also social as well. So we try and bring all those elements together and then give them to the client.
Fantastic. I want to segue back a few years to your gym and PT course. You mentioned a minute ago that your gym course was kind of that first introduction to the gym, and it just kind of, you mentioned like it opened your eyes, and it sounded to me like it had a big impact on you, and obviously it sent you on this trajectory to explore fitness and not sit behind the desk for the rest of your life. What was it about that course or was it the tutor, or what part of it, what about that course that resonated with you most, that you can remember back, that literally picked Warwick up and just went, this is the route for you?
What was it about that course? Do you know what it was? It was the tutors. Tutors made a big difference.
Yeah.
They were really passionate. They were excited about the fact that actually the learning never ends, so that came across. Whereas I felt like after I'd finished design college, I don't think I really felt that I'd actually learned that much, apart from, I learned a lot, but I kind of stopped my learning at that point. There was nothing in between that and starting the fitness industry. There's nothing. Whereas with the fitness industry, you can go, right, do you know what? I'm going to learn about myofascial release. I'm going to learn about nutrition a bit more. I'm now going to do massage. I'm now going to do this. I could see that there was always a different path for learning, which was I thought was really cool at the time. And I don't know, it seemed like a bit of an adventure. Do you know what I mean? It was like, oh, there's this, there's that. Do you know you can do this with your tummy muscles? You could, improve your back posture, or posture in general, or your sport specific training. There was so many avenues that it just made my mind, really excited about it.
And at that time as well, early mid 2000s, it was personal training, gyms. They were, as you said, they were still somewhat exclusive to a degree. So it was new for the end user as well, let alone for us who were qualifying. Whereas now it's much widely more acceptable to go to a gym. There's more access to the more budget gyms, and people know what it's all about. But back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it was still a new industry for us.
Yeah, it was so new. There was very little people doing it, to a bigger degree than the leisure centres stroke the high-end health clubs. And there was a few like standalone gyms, but like compared to now, where you can literally walk around the corner and find another boutique fitness place, or this, that, the other. And there's so many variations as well, which again comes back to, there's endless ways that you can learn. So there's endless possibilities for different types of solutions. So I don't think it's going to stop. I think if anything, the boutique spaces will probably get bigger, which will make even more jobs, which will make even more opportunity for people to get into it. I think the wellness space will increase. I think coaches will adapt themselves with more studying around the brain health, more about socializing, stuff like that. So I think there's still big room for it.
So how do you learn, qualify and kickstart as a FitPro? This is the FitPro Sessions Podcast with Parallel Coaching.
I think something we're seeing, certainly, working with, thousands of learners that have come through Parallel in the last couple of years, is this need, I suppose, for becoming more of a specialist, becoming more of an expert in one or two areas max. I interviewed a guy this morning on a podcast, and he was a body transformation coach and just worked with certain types of people. And I think, what you've just said, how we're moving forwards as an industry, the boutiques space that you're going to have to work with certain types of people. You can't just be the jack of all trades, which, you know, I remember when I first started, you could work with anyone and everyone, and that was okay, but it's almost not okay anymore. Would you agree or disagree on that one? Or
I suppose you're probably on the front line of learners going into sort of chains and stuff like that. But I personally work with loads of people. You know what I mean? Just from the pure way of what I do. You know, and if I see a fit for something else, like for instance, the other day we had one of our corporate clients. They asked us to do a talk on behavioural change and motivation and stuff like that, and I can probably do it from the probably from the level 4 obesity management stuff. There's a whole section in there about behavioural change, and I can put something pretty decent together. But actually, I was like, you know what? Have I really got the time to build something really credible, and will it sound good from me? Actually, no. So I actually got contacted by a lady called Dr. Heather McKee, who's looking out for other partners and stuff like that. So she was a doctor of behavioural therapy and change. Amazing. So I was like, well, this is perfect. Let's see if she can go and do this talk, and she could. And that was perfect. So, you know, I think lots of people work with different people. I think it just depends on how open you are, and sometimes you just got to put a bit of trust in people. I think, back in the day, the type of training that I did, which is still similar now, I don't really change my type of training. It's circuit training. I love circuit training, and I find that's general for most people, and you can scale it up, scale it down, whatever. But in terms of then specifying into different areas, you know, if I didn't know how to improve someone for a specific sport, I'd find someone that could, you know, or at least get their information and ask them, you know, not get their information, but ask for their help. And likewise, I'd hope that people would say, oh, you know what, Warwick is pretty good at that. You know, he's pretty good at doing this sort of gym design or something like that, and then ask me to do.
So it's having that confidence, isn't it, to signpost somebody on, knowing when you are the specialist or whether you're not. Even though you could perhaps do it, it's actually going, do you know what?
Yeah.
It would be better for me to signpost this person out or this organization out, and they can do a much better job. And that still positions you as the expert, right?
I think so. I think if you always think that you're going to lose a client or whatever because you want to try and help that person or company or whatever, but you'll do everything to try and get them, but actually you won't really fulfill it, then you're going to lose them anyway.
Yeah.
So completely. You might as well just try and partner up with someone that actually you can try and build a bit of trust. You just be honest, look, this is what I need. What do you need? And then just go, that's the solution, which is pretty much general for what I do, really. I put together a solution and then we go to our client. You know, I work with multiple partners, and that's how it works. You can't do everything by yourself.
No, completely. Sure. And I think that's a great message, isn't it, for those starting out, perhaps not initially starting out in fitness business, but certainly those that end up scaling and growing whatever it is they do. You can't do it all on your own. You do need a team around you, and you're only as good, or you can only get as big as the team around you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I realised that a long time ago. Well, in fact, I realised it when I started the business, 2010. That actually I can't be everywhere. Yes. You know. So when I started Reinvent, sorry, I'm digressing a little bit, but when I started Reinvent, I started with a couple of contracts with the NHS with mental health hospitals, and then they asked me to be able to provide classes, you know, and they said, can you do Zumba? And I was like, yeah, you don't want to see me doing Zumba. That's not pretty. So I then found a great lady called Lorna, who was literally here early on, actually. She came and see the unit. And she said, yeah, I can do that. So we got her in, And then they said, oh, can you do like a boxing fit or boxer size class, something like that? I said, well, I can probably do stuff with pad work, but we're probably not going to have people punching each other in the mental health ward. It's probably not going to be that ideal. So how about we have like a boxer size class where we're doing like a more like an aerobic kind of style class. So I found someone to do that. And then we wanted someone to do Pilates. So we found another Pilates teacher and brought that person into the fold. So before you knew it, we had a whole timetable of various different instructors delivering a whole fitness and wellness program on site at mental health hospitals around Hertfordshire. So, and that was just from reaching out and asking people, you know, you just got to pick up the phone and just ask them, and you know, because otherwise you could just be in your head.
Yeah, it was at a time about 2010 where we were obviously tutoring alongside each other, assessing level 2 gym, PT alongside each other. And I remember those kind of the early days for you in Reinvent Lifestyle. So let's park the tutoring and assessing to one side. Tell us more about Reinvent Lifestyle and those early days of working and liaising with mental health wards and units around Hertfordshire and providing that solution. And I suppose forging the way to where you are now.
Yeah. So, so I think we were assessing for another provider, and I was just about to have my first child, and so I left a training provider to start my business, and I then started doing some extra assessing on the side where I met you. And then, see you later, Bobby. Take it easy, mate. Yeah, that's all right. Thanks, mate. Take care. Yeah, speak soon, bro. Cheers, mate. Sorry, mate.
That's all right, don't mind.
So 2010, so we're just starting with this new business. The whole idea was to try and help people with mental health issues, get them fit, understand a bit about nutrition, you know, and then get them moving. It was really, really simple. So we managed to get contact with a older adults ward, and this is interesting. This will link back to the education bit. So I went to see these guys, older adults, and they're older frail adults, and they had dementia and stuff like that. And I didn't really know how I was actually really going to do a fitness class for them. So I was like, right, okay, what am I going to do? So I'm going to have to go and find some new skills to go and take this back to them. So I went and found a course for older frail adults, chair-based exercise course with the one and only Keith Smith.
Yeah.
And he delivered that program with such passion. It was fantastic. I took those exercises back to the trust at the time and said, look, this is what we can do. And they loved the idea. And it went off a treat, you know, and then we helped others around Hertfordshire in sort of OTs and care staff be able to deliver it themselves as well, which is great. And then they then asked us to provide some circuit training to a adult centre in Stevenage. As I went to see the site and they showed me a room and I said, well, do you know what, this would be really good as a little studio. So we went back to them with a little proposal of, right, it'll cost this amount for some equipment, it'll be this amount for, at the time, me to turn up to deliver the sessions. And then we just went away like that and just said, look, this is what it will be. And they said, yeah, well, great, we've got this budget. How many times a week can you come in? I was like, well, I can come in 4 times a week. So that's what I did. So
there was your first studio designed as well.
Yeah, and I literally painted it myself as well, which was interesting. And it's still a bit purple and a bit green, but it's actually, you know, I've asked people, and we're still running stuff there. You know, it's not me that goes to do the sessions, but although sometimes I go. But it's still purple, it's still green. But when I ask people quite like it. So I was obviously had a good taste at the time.
So at that time, how many it wasn't just you. You've mentioned, you got somebody in to do Zumba, you got somebody in to do the boxercise and whatnot.
Yeah.
How many sessions were on this timetable that you've set up?
Oh, so that original one, it was just one hospital, and it was just me going in, and then also the assessing thing, because I was kind of like building the business, and then I was also then assessing, which is kind of the same business because it's bringing into the same pot at the time. But I had to then, like work out my timetable to make sure I was at these places that time, that place that time. And then also I was running a PT client base as well. So I was working out of the gym near Stephen. So I had all these different things. And
that's what a PT does really well. Do you agree? Sorry to jump in. I think a PT has lots of little projects and pots moving at any one time. And
yeah. Well, I went to a seminar in 2005 or 6 with Charles Poliquin, the late Charles Poliquin. And he said in that seminar, as a fitness professional, you should always have 3 streams of income. And I thought, do you know what? That makes sense to me, because if you lose some clients here and you gain some classes there or whatever, then it all will kind of balance out. So you can have classes running, you can have PT going. When I took it to the extreme and started selling equipment and doing training and running programs, and I'm still a little bit like that. But he said to have 3 streams of income, which I thought was really important. So I was managing all those things. But then with when they said, right, can you do this hospital as well? I was like, oh, okay, now I'm going to need help. So I stretched myself to the maximum that I could probably do. Plus, I think we were just about to have our second child at that time. That was about that time. And I probably went a bit nuts myself. I know I did. So I was like, right, I'm gonna have to get help, because I can't do it all by myself. And then, like anything I do, I think of it in my head, and then I go and ask someone about it.
Think about the house later.
Yeah. No, it's literally that. And then someone called it manifesting something in your mind and it comes true, whatever, the other day. And I thought, actually, that's probably quite about right. So I remember this quite vividly, actually, because the day that we got asked to do that, I was right, how am I going to do this? They want these classes, that class. I'm going to have to go and find someone. And luckily I found one of my wife's school mum friends. She was looking for different work during the day at the time, because a lot of work is in the early morning or late evening, and it's sometimes quite difficult to manage. So she wanted some work during the day, and that's what the hours were. So I said, well, would you like to get involved? And she was actually the boxercise instructor. So I don't know if that came first or whatever, but she said, yeah, great. So then she came on board. So then she asked, and I think I asked her, do you know anyone else? And she was like, oh no, this person. And I was like, okay, bring him in. And then we just kept kind of adding to our little team, and it was great. It was good fun at the time. So it was, at the time it was a mixture of doing various different pockets of work, and then slowly the business then built into, well, it still isn't built because I'm still building it.
But yeah, completely. But all the time, this is, as you say, it's kind of bringing in three or four different streams of revenue coming into the same pot, which has allowed you to build the thing you want today. I suppose that's the key, isn't it?
Yeah. And realizing that you can't do it by yourself. Definitely.
Yeah. So with you've got other people coming on board. You've gone through fitness yourself. You've got qualified. You've gone into tutoring and assessing. What advice would you give someone wanting to start out in fitness or making a career decision? Maybe somebody's listening to this that just enjoys fitness, but is thinking about a career change and going into, I don't know, engineering or something like that. What advice would you give somebody that is thinking about a career change or shifting their focus towards the fitness industry?
I think you have to think of the reasons that why you're doing it. Is it a, for me at the time, and it doesn't mean that it's right for everyone else. For me at the time, it was actually probably more about myself, that I was trying to change me.
Yeah.
That was the reason, although there's other external things going on, there's other people that are sort of egging me on to do it. And I kind of thought, oh, well, that would be good to do. But I think you have to think about the reasons why you're doing it. So, and I suppose the reasons for me was I was passionate about changing myself. So I wanted other people to feel that change as well.
It's amazing how many learners that we speak to that have had their own, body transformation. They've shifted a lot of weight themselves, or they've competed, they've got on stage, or they've done a marathon or something, and it's had a radical impact on how they operate day to day, week to week, in terms of their own physical, emotional output. That's been the shift they've needed, and they've almost liberated themselves and kind of gone, oh wow, I didn't realize I was capable of this. Maybe I can take my passion, my enthusiasm, and direct that towards somebody else.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you've got to kind of realize that it's not going to be easy. It's although you got to remember sometimes how long it took for you to change. Actually, that's how long it takes you to help someone else change. So the helping personal training clients is a quite a long-term thing. You build these relationships with these people for a long time. So you got to realize what you're getting into as well. I think. I mean, I didn't really realize at the time what I was getting into, but it'd probably be handy to know now. That actually when you build these client bases, that actually you're going to be with them probably more than your friends.
Yep.
You're going to be with them maybe 2-3 times a week, and actually you will see them more in your family.
And you end up talking to them about things that you don't even tell for some of your closest loved ones.
Yeah, totally. So, and I've still got friends now that are very, very close friends. And even one of them is my business partner. That you build these relationships with these people, and it's sometimes not all about just I want to be a personal trainer. It's literally you're changing your whole life, and actually you're going to meet other people, and that's the great thing. If you can talk to people, which I think is probably the most important factor of being a personal trainer. If you can talk to people and you can relate to people, then you're going to be successful. You know what I mean? I mean, having the skills is what you need, obviously, but if you can engage with people, you can convey your message of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve, and then you can be the friend as well that they kind of want. Not always, they don't always want that.
Yeah, I think that's why some learners find it so daunting or overwhelming, because in their career they're in now, let's say take the classic 9 till 5 job, they don't do a lot of talking. They're stuck behind the desk, and they've built up this habit. It's uncomfortable to put yourself out there. It's uncomfortable to talk to people. It's uncomfortable to pick up the phone and speak to somebody completely new. It's uncomfortable to stand in front of a group of people that you've never met before and present something that you're really passionate about. So something, we're really keen to do. In fact, we're heading up to Milton Keynes this evening to our Milton Keynes Academy. We've got 14 PTs joining us tomorrow for day 1 of their PT. And
wow.
Right from the get-go, we're going to be talking about, or getting the group to talk to each other to, what's, one of the tasks tomorrow is going to be, what's the one thing you could talk to somebody about passionately and talk them to death almost. And they're going to get used to projecting their voice, get used to introducing themselves. And as you say, if you can be confident in talking and putting yourself out there, as a PT, that's an amazing tip, an amazing bit of advice, really.
Yeah, I think it's so needed, and if you look back at, what I said earlier about when I went for that interview with Cannons, and they put you into that role play situation where you have to literally talk to somebody you didn't know. That's what that is for, it's to get you out of your comfort zone and actually start speaking to people. And it goes for anything in life, if you ask me. If you don't talk to people, you're never going to bridge that gap into a different area that you want to get into. Because I'm naturally quite a reserved person. You know what I mean? I don't I wouldn't say. In fact, actually, that broke a lot of barriers at the time, where I went from that position where I was in the design company into the fitness instruction position, and I found it so nerve-wracking going to teach my first circuit class, because I had to get in front of like 20 odd people and speak to them about, you know, things. And I thought, oh, what if I get my teaching points right? And, you know, I mean, it's important, but majority of the time people will just come and exercise, you know, and once you relax, then they're relaxed, and then it becomes more fun. But at the time I felt really shy, didn't want to talk to anyone. But it puts you, and I always think that now, put yourself into the hardest position you can, so it forces you to speak to someone.
Yeah.
You know, no matter how tough it is, you know, and just ask them anything, because that way you're gonna get a response. And if you don't get a response, then you know that actually you can be quiet again.
Yeah, completely. I think when you're in that, when you are, let's say, naturally a very quiet and reserved person, I think you're very similar to Hayley. You know, the listeners might not know this, but Hayley's a very introverted, very quiet. She gets her energy from herself, and you know, she'll stand up in front of a group, and you can still see those nerves come through. Or she's about to go live on Facebook or do a video, and you can see the nerves come through. And it's in that moment when you start having a whole different thought process come through of, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to fluff my words? Am I going to forget teaching points? Am I going to hurt somebody? And it's letting those thoughts that aren't real take over, and that paralyzes people to not ever take action, versus those thoughts can still run through, but those thoughts aren't real. And so it's kind of cutting thoughts right there before you get those feelings and emotions, and say, right, I'm still going to do it, even though it's a little bit scary.
Yeah, no, totally. So yeah, I remember at design college, the tutor there, when you used to do a presentation on your project, you used to say, right, you just have to like pinch yourself or something like that. And he gave us this tip, and it was about anchoring your own power. And I thought, you know what, actually, then I don't even know what it really does, but I still do it, because I was like, right, okay, now it's usually I just clench my fist sort of thing, and that then gives me a little bit of power in myself to be able to, you know, get out there and speak. So yeah, you know, I think it's communication is probably one of the biggest parts, but it's not the only part. Obviously, there's plenty of other things to it. But
well, let's fast forward to or rewind rather to 2010, roughly when we were in the gym together, standing side by side, going in on assessment days. You'd be leading and tutoring and whatnot, and we tag team a couple of gym courses together, which were pretty good fun. What did you enjoy most about qualifying people in fitness? So, you know, you were doing level 2 gym, you were teaching and assessing level 3 PT on my diploma. At that point, there was training, different environments. You'd do the circuit days. And I think the biggest thing I remember was your spin courses. Like, they were on fire.
yeah, I used to love spinning. I still do. Well, I mean, what did I love? I loved it was still just the coaching, just because it's like layers, isn't it? You know, you can be a PT and you can help your little client base, or you can then help another trainer inspire all of their client base. So it goes down to what you feel your role is in the world. And for me, it's to try and help people feel the benefits of exercise as much as possible. So at the time, with my role as being an assessor, helping PTs and instructors gain their, if I could help them, I hope I did.
100% you did. 100% you did.
Cheers, mate. But skills, you know, to help their own client base and bring passion and motivation, then that was what it was for me. You know, like to be able to just transfer that knowledge that I'd kind of already experienced, even though it's still quite early on in my career, if I think about it. In fact, very early on. It's only like, you know, 5 or 6 years after I first qualified, so it's still quite early. But yeah, so like with the courses, it was fun because there was a mixture of, yet again, really passionate people like yourself and Aaron and Bob and Craig and people like that are around us. It was Chris. It was just good fun. You know what I mean? There was lots of people that were energized to try and deliver the best. And
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's very similar for Haley and I. There was only so many people that I could be in contact with as a personal trainer or in group-based training. But through Parallel now, like tomorrow we got 14 people starting our PT course.
Yeah,
if each one of those goes out and impacts 100 people by next year, we've just reached 1,400 people. And the more people,
exactly, multiples,
completely. And that, as you say, it's what's the why and what's my ambition, what's my bigger goal is to impact more people from a health and wellness perspective. In which case, for me, the fastest and smartest route to that was through qualifying people and making mini me's and mini yous.
yeah, that's it. And similar with what I and we do, it's about providing solutions for many people to be able to enjoy and feel the passion for fitness. So if I can help a load of people in mental health hospitals or corporate companies or residential places where there's multiples of people that actually feel and need the help. Hence why, if you looked at our website, the target audiences are corporate healthcare, residential student accommodation, things like that. Yes, we get involved with some sort of affluent clients every now and then, but really I'm trying to reach the people that I feel really, really need the help. And the way to do that for me is to be able to deliver the solutions into the specific places.
So how do you learn, qualify and kickstart as a FitPro? This is the FitPro Sessions Podcast with Parallel Coaching.
Something we talk heavily about in Parallel, and we've mentioned it on a number of the podcasts now, is this ripple effect. And you might go into a space in let's take one of a mental health unit, and you impact somebody's quality of life, but unbeknown to you impact the staff there or a particular carer, and that impacts their household. And even without you knowing, you could have had a massive ripple effect further down the line.
Yeah, exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head. Is hitting those multiples of people. And if you go to say your PTs that are about to qualify, they've got the opportunity to hit multiples of people by through the client bases. I'm assuming they're going to do some sort of group exercise thing as well. The access to online digital content, solutions now is amazing. Look at what you're doing with your podcast. I'm sure they could probably do something similar on a podcast. YouTube. There's so many different ways that people can expand their world, and reach more people. I mean,
our YouTube is a classic example. The YouTube, for Parallel, we've hit millions of views, or cumulative across a couple of hundred videos, and we get messages from people in South Africa, South America, Northern America, America, Australia, all over the Middle East, saying thank you. And I couldn't have done that if I didn't put myself out there and started talking and communicating.
No, that's right.
So we got a number of learners obviously starting tomorrow, and for the listeners, we're recording this in October 2019. Maybe you're starting a new fitness course or starting something new and feeling nervous. Warwick, what advice would you give to somebody that is nervous about starting a course, nervous about actually turning up to day one of a course, or nervous about kickstarting in fitness? What advice would you give somebody?
Everyone's on the same boat. There's no one out there that isn't nervous a little bit. There are always going to be other people that are in the same sort of shoes, that are meeting the same place. Everyone's come to the same assumption as you that is going to be on the course. They're there to learn, to understand, so they can then take away that information and go and do what they want to do. So just believe that there's going to be people there, either in the course or online or whatever, however you're doing it, that are there for the similar reasons. and actually they're probably just as friendly as you are. Remember your reasons, why you're doing it. You know, it is for you, so you deserve to have that success. And just get out there and do it.
Get out there and do it.
It's fun.
Amazing. One of the I want to kind of jump forwards a little bit and kind of get out there and do it. And you've mentioned about having, you know, 2-3 pots or 2-3 projects on the go, and having different revenue streams coming in, and you're clearly very busy and successful with that. How do you juggle all of this? And you know, when I met you, you just had your first kid, and then your second one came along a couple of years later. How do you juggle all of being in fitness, having a studio, going all over the country, and a family? Like, what's the secret sauce here, mate?
There's no secret sauce. It's been as flexible as I can, and I suppose I kind of think about what I want within anything that I do, like, you know, like, and then I try and work it for all parties, because there's multiple people involved in the business now, and I try and make things work for all, you know. How do I manage it? Yeah, I don't know, a bit of a juggle, really. It's always a juggle. It's never clean. It's always quite difficult and challenging. I still wake up with the same, you know, passion each day. Go, right, I'm going to try and do this, but there's also that thought in the back of my mind: am I going to be able to do it? Sometimes, you know, you don't always get all the things done, and it's managing the family as well. You know, we've got 3 kids, so it's mad. But essentially, got good people around me, got friends and stuff like that. We've got good work colleagues. And it's just sometimes being honest with yourself of what you can manage and when to release that bit off. If you think, actually, do you know what, it's going to be too stressful for me to do it, and go, right, let's get someone else to do it. So relating back to a personal trainer, it might be, right, okay, do you know what, I need some help with designing programs.
Yeah. You
know, right, is there anyone or any companies out there? Like we had TRX down here earlier, and they've got some new programs that they're building. You know, so you can go and ask them, and you can go on their courses, and they give you really, really good programs. Not that that's designed for everyone. You still need to bespoke it a little bit.
But how do I make it easier on myself, really, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the way. You know, don't always feel like it's got to be a huge struggle, you know, designing those programs and things like that. Just get help from other people.
What I get from that is or what I hear so often is learners are craving a level of perfection in their day, and they don't take action until it all the planets line up and everything feels and looks, you know, nice and right and nice and shiny. But something like, you know, that I've got from you there is actually, it will never be perfect, and you've just got to wake up with the same level of passion and ambition and just hit your day and your week goals or your month goals or whatever it is, your vision you're going after, with that passion, and to a degree fly by the seat of your pants a little bit, and accept that perfection's never going to happen.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think even when I was personal training, I was trying to push myself into different areas. It was a total juggle. You know, I had to go, right, okay, I've got 4 people here in the morning. I can do those in the morning. I've got to still feed myself. I've got to go home and see the little one, and then I've got to go back out again for a few hours, and then I've got to try and see a friend at some point. You know, so that it was never easy. And it still isn't easy. You know, there's nothing easy in life, but you got to enjoy it.
Yes,
because it's the only one you got.
Amazing. I have this conversation so often, also between me and Hayley, is, you know, we chose to do this and we get to do it. Yeah. So enjoy it, you know, and you see something.
I come back to that all the time.
Is not enjoying what they're doing, in which case, you know, you've got to take a step back and go, well, actually, is this right for me? Am I am I on the right path? But you're allowed to enjoy this game, Warwick. You're allowed to have fun every day. Did you know that?
Yeah, no, that's it. Yeah, I firmly think that, yeah, I mean, look, if it's not right, it's not right. But if you can try to enjoy all of the peaks and flows, and then, it becomes more exciting,
Definitely.
as you move along in your career anyway, because you make more friends, you meet more people. There's multiple different routes for you to go. You can go down the education route, you can go down the sales route, you can go any way you want, and I think that's probably the best way to look at it. That it's not going to be one smooth path to 30 clients a week or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be ups and downs, and one week you'll be up and one week you'll be down, but then you can find other things to do around that, as long as you keep your head right
in the game. Somebody said to me a few weeks back that the fitness industry is a bit like Madonna, where she can continue to reinvent herself all the time and bring out a new song and stay, regardless of her age, she's back in the limelight and the forefront of it. And I kind of agree with that. You can reinvent yourself so many times inside fitness, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's loads of different ways of working in fitness, and I think there's only going to be more. Because there's so many avenues for people to go down now. If you're good on social media, or if you're good at, liaising with people, or if you're good at, strength conditioning, or if you're good at sports specific stuff, or if you're good at with older adults, or, younger, kids fitness and things like that, which is going to be big, I think, in the future. There's so many avenues for people to go, and I think it's good to open yourself to all markets and then gradually just kind of squeeze it a little bit down.
So with that, then, what is the next step for you guys, for Warwick and the team, and the Reinvent Lifestyle and the solutions that you're providing? You've recently got your own physical space as well, your own studio, but you're obviously working in a number of other places at the same time. So what if we move forward for 2020? Where are you guys heading?
So we are so we're about to start a studio showroom downstairs, which is going to be our kind of like our lab. So we're going to create a solution or some solutions that we will take to our clients and say, look, this is what we believe is going to be most helpful for your employees or organization or service users. So we can then physically bring people to our establishment and say, look, this is what you can do, and actually train them in it, make them feel the passion for exercise. Because it's all good showing them brochures and catalogs and doing design and stuff like that, but I think firmly believe until you actually feel what it feels like to go through, a structured training session, I think you won't ever understand it. So that's what worked well recently for a big organisation that we've done a project for. And then I think going into sort of brain health, gamification and wellness is kind of like my three next steps for us. So building areas for fitness recovery, for mind and meditation, and for gamification, essentially using things like MyZone or wall targets, or making our own games up within our solutions. That's where we're going to try and take our stuff next.
So like you say, you're in fitness and you're not closing off any door, but as you say, as you get more and more into it, it starts to narrow down, and that certainly sounds like you're narrowing down into innovating solutions, not just kit, but experiences for people to enjoy exercise more, enjoy getting healthy, and adhere to that as well. Very smart.
Yeah, totally. We're slowly realizing what our clients want and what we feel they should have. So we're now squeezing it down and saying, right, this is our offering, this is what we're about. I kind of know my strengths and I know the team's strengths. So I think we've now got a bit of a good offering of what we can deliver. So yeah, that's where we'll be hopefully for the next couple of years, and then we'll see where it goes after that.
Amazing. So Warwick, I've got 3 questions from learners, and then I've got 2 final questions from me. I've got a question from Ella, Jean, and Julie, and what I do is I'm going to put like a 60-second timer on, I suppose, and do a quick fire round on them. So Ella asks, what advice would you give someone taking their level 3 practical assessment? So Ella's been in touch a number of times lately. She's not with Parallel Coaching. She's with another training provider, but she's got a level 3 practical early November. So a couple of weeks out. What advice would you give her?
I'll give 3 things. Take a notepad and pen.
Nice.
Take a stopwatch, and just slow down.
Amazing. Slow down. Allow you to come out and not let the nerves take over. Is that what you mean? So
that's it, exactly.
Notepad and pen, so you can obviously support the client along the way, make notes, increase the weights.
Also, with the notepad and pen, that gives you time to think.
Oh.
So if you're writing it down, it also you remember what you're doing. So you're with the client. It's not, well, forgive me if I'm wrong, Neil.
No, go ahead.
Sometimes some practicals let you take the paperwork in. Sometimes they don't. But what they can't do is stop you from taking your own notes. So as you're going round, you write down, right, I'm at the leg press. We can do 3 sets, madam, of this, and you use your NAM sit or however you're going to teach. You go through it, and it gives you a bit of time just to kind of go, right, okay, I know what I'm doing. Because once you've written it down, you know where you are. So it's actually a good thing to logistically understand where you are in that.
Yeah, we had a coach a couple of years ago, a guy called Keith Cunningham, and his biggest thing was thinking time. And said exactly the same thing. The moment you take the time to write something down, you've just allowed some space in the top 3 inches to slow down and go, right, what am I actually doing here right now? What am I meant to say next? and I think it's a wicked tip. And then obviously the stopwatch to record time and, the rest time and whatnot. And then what was the third bit again? Just remind me. Was take your time. Slow down.
Give yourself some space.
Cool. Next question, and that's awesome. I love that. Was from Jean. She goes, I'm thinking of setting up a studio. I love this question. It's perfect for you. I'm thinking of setting up a studio. What advice would you give somebody, and what should she be prioritizing first?
Space.
Yeah.
If you're a good PT, then you need space. Well, not a good PT because you can have loads of equipment in place or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But I think starting out, it's great to have a bit of space in the studio because you can always add to it later. Add a little bit. Make sure you've got enough for storage. Keep it neat. Keep it tidy, and utilize leverage systems like suspension straps or bands and things like that because they're reasonably low cost. They're not going to cost you the earth. And then if you're going to start looking at bigger, heavier kit, then look at high quality pieces, but maybe lease it if you can, depending, or rent it, or go to a place, to go and try it out and really think, right, is this going to be right for my clients? Flooring is important as well, so try and think about what type of flooring that you might need, and what type of sessions you're going to be doing. Is it going to be are you going to be doing circuit training, or are you going to be doing heavy lifting, or what is it going to be doing? So it will depend on the type of flooring, the thickness of the flooring, things like that. And then add your own flair. Get your ideas going. It's your time to go, right, yeah, do you know what? I love this. I'm going to put a painting on the wall.
Be creative, be imaginative.
Yeah.
Very smart. And then final question is from Julie. She says, what was it like working in mental health? So to give some context, I put an email out to all of our learners and I kind of gave them a bit of your background. And Julie said, what was it like working in mental health, and what tips would you offer to break into a local mental health service? Okay.
So it's exciting. It's rewarding. It's hard. It's difficult. It's pretty challenging, quite heartbreaking, but also you'll get a lot out of it. You know, you'll learn things that you never knew that even existed. You know, so A, about yourself, B, about other people. It really it teaches you a lot. It's quite inspiring. You know,
a lot of appreciation needed, I'd imagine, to slow the pace down, and I suppose expectations as well of, you know, what somebody can achieve in just one session.
Totally. Yeah, if you imagine a lot of people in mental health units are on high medication, so your sessions become very, very simple in terms of an exercise prescription point of view, but they then become very, very difficult on behavioural change point of view, because they won't want to go most of the time, you know, to your sessions. So your whole thing about motivation and explaining what's going to happen, your teaching points need to become clearer and more effective, more concise. You know, so it's challenging, but it's really rewarding. In terms of trying to get into it, it might be a little bit different now to when we originally got into it, but if you speak to the local community care groups, commissioning groups, they'll be able to pinpoint you where to go. Every county has got one, or just go and speak to the local mental health hospitals themselves. A lot of the low secure ones will have a reception where you can go and speak to them, just, you know, even the receptionist, and just say, look, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Who's the ward manager that I can go and speak to?
Who do I need to speak to and you know, get that contact?
Just go and ask.
Go and ask.
Yeah, go and ask. That's the main thing.
I remember this is quite a few years ago, 2007, 2008. I was lecturing in a local college, and one of the groups that I got the pleasure of working with, they had a variety of needs, and there was 6 individuals. And again, like loads of different medications. And you say, you know, I didn't really know what I was walking into. So I planned the session and kind of put a general kind of 6-week plan for that first half term to work with this group. And it blew my mind for first session. I walked out and I remember saying to Hayley, I was like, oh my God, I've learned so much in one session about me as an instructor. My expectations of what we would do on a session were just completely warped. And by the end of the 6 weeks, we had achieved what I set out to in the very first session.
Oh, wow.
Which, you know, it just gave me a different level of appreciation for how to present information, how to break down exercise, how to break down what I took for granted more than anything, and see life from a completely different angle. And I think, you know, that, you know, I'd gone on to work, as you know, with guys in a boot camp down here in Plymouth that are mainly business owners, but I've taken what I learned back then in that studio with those 6 guys into pretty much everything we do today. So you definitely learn a lot.
Yeah, you totally do. Yeah, there's a lot to be said, and that's where it comes back to what we originally spoke about. You know, it's not all about the affluent clients. It's trying to work out what is your reason. But, like, you know, so for a lot of that, I really wanted to help people in those kind of situations. So it's definitely a good area, and it's a growth area now. You know, with more money hopefully being pumped into the NHS and mental health in particular, there'll be more opportunity for people to go and help those people. So
I couldn't agree more, definitely. So Warwick, I've got two final questions for you. So based on life today, I ask these last 2 questions for everybody that's coming on as a guest. And based on life today, all your experiences, going through, you know, design school, growing up, getting into fitness level 2, getting into your first gym job at Cannons, right through to where you are now, you know, installing and designing studio spaces and whatnot. What 3 things, tips or advice would you give to someone wanting to start out in fitness or coaching?
believe in yourself and
amazing.
Just enjoy the process.
So believe in yourself, number one, enjoy the process, number two.
Enjoy the process, and then, just go and do it.
Just go and do it. Take action. What's been amazing actually is everybody I've interviewed and had on the podcast so far, they've all put belief in. Believe in yourself.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, it's been the common theme and trend. So
and that's what it is.
Really smart to hear that again.
It's a nerve-wracking time, but you just gotta keep believing that you're doing it for the right reasons. And
take action. Just go and do it. So final question. And first off, Warwick, I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for the time and energy and effort you also have put in since I've known you. You're clearly very passionate, very dedicated, very enthusiastic, and have this crazy vision. And
you and Hayley.
You're making it happen, and your wisdom and thirst for learning. So with that, what in your definition is an outstanding coach?
Or someone that just cares. A good coach is someone that can take the anyone from any situation into an exercise fitness program and make them enjoy it.
Love it.
If you can help someone enjoy fitness, even if they don't enjoy it in the session, afterwards they'll come back and they go, "Oh, thanks for pushing me through that," or "Thanks for listening to me while I was doing that." A caring coach is probably the best coach, because you'll if you can have that element to it, then you're just going to win anyway.
Superb. Warwick, I want to thank you one more time for your time today. A little bit longer than we first planned, but amazing value and content, and some golden gems of answers and for our listeners. So a huge high five and thank you for joining us today.
Cheers, mate.
Hi, I'm Neil Bergman.
And I'm Hayley Bergman. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of fitness professionals to get qualified, learn with simplicity, and coach clients with confidence.
We're the first to say that learning and being a FitPro doesn't have to be hard work, and that with the right structure, support, and resources, you can become a confident and knowledgeable fitness professional that is dedicated to more.
So how do you learn, qualify, and kickstart as a FitPro? This is the FitPro Sessions Podcast with Parallel Coaching.